Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. It's Mailbag Monday. Thanks for joining us. We're presented by PointsBet. Make sure you use promo code CHGO when you sign up, and you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not all. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you're going to get a free CHGO membership. That unlocks all of our great web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. He's way over there. It is Mailbag Monday, as we said. We're going to get to your questions. If you've got any questions, too, feel free to throw them up in the chat on YouTube, and we will see them and address them as we go. But before we get started, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet was on the intermission show this weekend and had a bit of an update on the Blackhawks. Nothing too crazy, nothing you probably haven't heard before. But he says the Blackhawks are indeed testing the market on some trades. Taves, Kane, and Jones have no movement clauses, so don't count on them. They're not on the market. Other than that, they're listening on anybody. We'll see if someone makes an offer that piques their interest. So nothing really terribly new there. The one thing that really got my attention was that Taves, Kane, and Jones are not on the market. And fellas, we were talking off the air a little bit about there's really no point in saying they're on the market or acknowledging they're on the market until you have a concrete offer for them. There's no point in going to any of those three and saying, hey, would you consider waiving your no trade clause before you have a solid offer to tell them? Hey, Jonathan, Boston is interested in bringing you in to potentially replace Patrice Bergeron. If we can make something happen, was that something you'd consider? Mm-hmm. Patrick, Seth, whoever the player is, I think it makes sense to have some sort of specific offer before you even ask those guys.
Yeah, because the way that things would go then is if you just say, would you be willing to move your, to waive your clause, then you kind of open up the discussion of, maybe where would they want to go? You start to maybe narrow it from their standpoint. But then, as we know in the news cycle, I'm sure that information would get out that, hey, the Blackhawks have asked Jonathan Taves to waive his no movement clause. Like everything goes crazy.
Breaking news.
Yeah, everything goes crazy from then on. So, yeah, I think for the Blackhawks, what they've been doing since Kyle Davidson has taken over is keeping a lot of things close to the vest. And they haven't had a ton of time to, have things leak out or really establish how they, communicate internally. But, yeah, I think if you're going to one of those players, it has to be, we have this offer on the table. Would you consider it? I think it's in Kyle Davidson's best interests to, give those players that leeway because they've earned it, obviously. But also, you don't want to kind of cause any internal strife or anything like that. You don't want. We've seen Jonathan Taves be grumpy this last season. You don't want him being grumpy next season if he's around.
That's a nice way to put it.
So I think if you have offers for those players, that's when you say, hey, would you waive your
right?
No movement?
Yeah,
clause?
You just can't go right to him and say, hey, we want to trade you. What do you say?
Right.
Because you gotta wear white gloves in this situation. You gotta be delicate.
Yeah.
These are two franchise legends. These are guys that are going to have statues outside the United Center one day, and you got to give them the respect that they've earned in this situation and say, hey, this is the deal. This is the offer we've been made. We think it's really good. What do you think? And then they could say, no, I don't want to play there. And then you can maybe say, okay, well, then where do you want to go?
Open it from there. Yeah.
What team would you say yes to?
Because I think that's if I'm one of those guys, my first response is if they say, hey, would you waive your no movement clause? I would say to go where? Mm-hmm. That would be my first question.
Right.
And you can't go to them and say, well, just in general.
Right, because they're going to be like, no.
Right, because that's the idea. That's the whole point of the no movement clause is you get to dictate where you go.
Give me something
You just
specific.
can't say, yes, trade me anywhere.
Or
trade me right effing now.
Kyle Davidson could have, if we're talking about somebody like Patrick Kane, he could have 2 or 3 offers and say, we're comfortable with all of these. Mm-hmm. Which of these would you is most desirable for you? Mm-hmm. Because you're right. Like, look, we've been frustrated with Jonathan Taves over the last calendar year, and he has been a little pouty. He has been kind of grumpy. But he is also going to be on the Mount Rushmore of this franchise, and he should be. And he has earned the right to dictate his future a little bit. And if he wants to be here, then they have to respect that. If he wants to trade, they have to respect that. And they have to do what they can to accommodate what he wants. And that's, look, when Stan Bowman gives everybody and their mother a no movement clause, you have to deal with those ramifications. You can't be mad about it. And as a fan, I'm not. If Jonathan Toews is like, no, I'm just going to explore free agency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he contractually has that.
His contract
ability.
dictates that he can do that, and that's his decision. Okay, don't be mad at Jonathan Toews. Be mad at he who shall not be named for giving him that clause.
I'm sorry I named him.
Yes, you did.
My bad.
We're gonna get a big jar.
Like a cattle prod.
We're gonna get a jar and we're gonna put it here. And every time someone mentions his name, you gotta throw $1 in the jar. And at the end of it, we'll donate it to whatever charitable cause he who shall not be named hates the most. Whatever issue he is flat out against, we will donate to
the Anti-Nepotism Society of America.
Yeah,
that could be it.
Is there such a thing? I would totally donate.
There
to
is
that.
now. Yeah.
We're gonna start.
We'll start it. Yeah.
Prevents fathers from hiring their sons.
Well, the other thing about this too is they're listening on anybody, and the more time it goes on, and the more I reflect on this offseason, I really believe they're looking to move DeBrincat. I really do. It's almost impossible to imagine, but just there's been no indication of any sort of commitment towards him, and everyone sort of says they don't seem too committed to bringing him back. It's very strange. Mm-hmm. And I get that's the guy you're going to get the biggest return for, more than Kane, more than Taves. If someone wants to take on Seth Jones' contract, so be it. But you're going to get the most for DeBrincat, but it's still you've got him already. You've got the biggest piece to your rebuild in a 23, 24-year-old forward who's going to score 50 goals someday and is becoming an all-around player. I don't know why you're looking to move that. And I don't know if you're going to get a player back that's going to be as good as that. And that's my hesitance. But if they're going to get some giant package in return, eclipsing what they got for Brandon Hagel. Let's imagine they get a package like they got for Hagel, but instead of Radish and Kachuk, they get more established, more proven young players. Mm-hmm. Then it's something you have to think about. But still, what are the odds that any of those picks and any of those players back are going to become as good as Alex DeBrincat in all facets, including the leadership, the marketability, all those things?
Yeah.
I would like to see Alex DeBrincat be the face of this franchise for the next decade, but I don't know. It's just based on my gut feeling. It feels like they're looking to move him and maximize the return while they can.
Yeah. It's the right thing to do from a rebuilding standpoint is to see what other teams are willing to offer you for that. And it has to be, like you said, it has to be something major that blows you away. That's we can't not take this deal because they're looking to maximize, the return of assets. And I think with DeBrincat's case, he's an established, elite top tier player in the league. But I think if you were to get 4, promising future assets for Alex DeBrincat, let's say in theory, if you get 4 B plus assets out of it when all things are said and done, would you rather have 4 B plus players or 1 A player? I don't know. Yeah. I think it's and maybe one of them turns into an A. Who knows? But I think if you have that kind of outlook, it's we may hit on 2 of these 4 in the future, and they may be they might be as good or better than DeBrincat. It's all of it is a gamble. Yeah, obviously.
I think part of it is the fear of not knowing how Kyle Davidson drafts. Right. We have not had a draft to see how he does at drafting. We also have a little bit of PTSD from Stan Bowman's drafts that have not worked out great. Damn it.
It's $2.
Yeah, this
right in the cup. So there's just a lot of unknown. And to me, Alex DeBrincat is a known young commodity who's really, really good. We know what we have in him.
Right.
And it's hard to let go of that. But you're right. If you're going to add, how many times we use the word depth when discussing the Hawks dynasty and discussing these teams in the playoffs, they can roll 4 lines. And you're right. If you bring in, so what's more valuable, 4 Dave Boldens or a Patrick Sharp.
Like, yeah, do you want Patrick Sharp or do you want Dave Bolin, Chris Versteeg, Brian Bickle, and whoever else from those teams?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the comp, right?
You need all of those to win,
right?
And there's a big difference between willing to listen to offers and actively
shopping. Yeah,
and I don't think they're shopping Alex DeBrincat. I think, but they're willing to listen to offers, and that's 100% the correct way to do it right now. Nobody on this team should be considered untouchable or unmovable, but obviously with Alex DeBrincat, you're going to need to be blown out of the water like you were for Hagel. Nobody expected, we all laughed when we heard the report, the Hawks are asking for one first-round draft pick for Brendan Hagel. We're like, yeah, good luck getting that. If you get one first-round draft pick, make that trade, and then they get two, and two so far serviceable NHL players.
Yeah, 2 guys that can step right in.
You had to make that deal.
Mm-hmm.
So and when you're looking at depth, right, you're talking about organizational depth. If you've got a 4th line with Radish and Kachuk, now you're talking.
Right.
Well, that's what they had in Tampa. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. That's the sort of thing we're talking about. And now, okay, so in an ideal championship situation, that's your 4th line with whoever at center, maybe Sam Lafferty, Kachuk, and Radish.
If that's your 4th line,
that's
as
really
opposed to your
solid.
2nd line, that's a pretty good team.
Right.
That's
the other
depth.
9.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
We're building our roster the reverse order. We're starting with the 4th line and working our way up.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We're getting to crunch time here. The playoffs will be over soon. Not that we're rushing them away because the playoffs have been awesome. We'll get to those today as well. But the news is really going to start picking up here around the draft and free agency, of course.
It's going to happen so fast because there's literally going to be like a week and a half between the draft and the last day of the Stanley Cup final. It's all going to happen super fast. And then 5 days after the draft is free agency. Mm-hmm. And then, it's just, we're going to have a whirlwind and then it's going to be nothing. For 6 weeks.
Well, we got prospects camp and all those things coming up, so there will be some things.
They got the World Juniors moved to August, so that'll be interesting too.
It'll be an interesting summer, an interesting off season. Things are kind of going out of order and later than they usually happen, and it will be a shorter off season, which is good.
Yeah,
because there's only so many. Hey, let's talk about those Stanley Cup teams you can do before you run out of stuff to talk about.
Well, reminder, so tomorrow is Top Shelf Tuesday. Wednesday, we're doing our evaluations. Thursday is Throwback Thursday. We're going to be recapping the 09-10 Stanley Cup playoffs for the Blackhawks. We did the regular season last Thursday, a lot of fun, but now the real magic starts when we get into the playoffs.
That might be a 4-hour episode.
It could be. It could be.
We may have to break that up into parts.
We could do a series every Thursday. Could be fun.
I mean, we do have.
That's really extending a lot of that content.
Well, we may not get through 4 series on Thursday in an hour. We'll have to see how that goes.
We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes.
And to let you a little spoiler, a little teaser, we've got some really cool guests coming up in the next couple of weeks too. So,
and hopefully more to come.
Yes. So we got the off season covered. Even when the news goes away, we'll still have some fun with it.
No doubt. All right, we're going to get to your mailbag questions here in a second, but first want to remind everybody that the best way to support CHGO is to go download the PointsBet app. And when you do, use that code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you're going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you're also going to get a free CHGO membership. What does that get you? Access to all of our written content, access to our Discord channel, free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all that for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. It's your home for live in-play betting, and it just got even better. Live NBA same-game parlay is here. The NBA Finals are happening, and I'm watching them. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. Want more? You can also boost your live same-game parlays. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And remember, online sign-up is available right now in Illinois. Get out your phone, download that PointsBet app, and when you do, use that code CHGO. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I believe this series is tied 1-1 now. Warriors and Celtics. So there you go. There's your talking NBA.
All right, I'm informed.
There's your talking
Put me on the
NBA.
Bulls show this afternoon. I know what I'm talking about.
We are also brought to you by Owyn, OWYN. It is standing for Only What You Need, and it is a 100% plant-based protein shake. Gives you the nutrition that works just as hard as you do. All of their Owyn products are free of artificial ingredients, allergen-friendly. They do not include gluten or dairy, and is easily digestible. You may have heard about Owyn from Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, who follows a plant-based diet. I know myself, trying to have less dairy, less gluten in my diet when I can. Also trying to get back to working out. Have had a couple months off with all my free time being taken up by being a new dad. So gonna try and get back to working out a little bit. So definitely gonna pick up some Owyn, see what it can do. That plant-based protein is something that I know I am interested in, and it'll be interesting to see what Owyn can do for me in my journey back to working out a little bit. Owyn and CHGO have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. You can get 20% off of your first purchase at liveowyn.com with the code CHGO20. Join myself and Justin Fields and try Owyn, only what you need. And I know if there's two people that you think of when you think of physical fitness, it's Justin Fields and myself.
Yes, it is. Did you ever think there was going to be a day that you and Justin Fields would be on a level playing field?
No.
That's pretty awesome.
No, but
Congratulations.
today is the day, and I feel great.
That's awesome.
I like your excuse. You're not working out because you have a new baby. My daughter's 12. That's my excuse.
Nah.
I've just been really busy for the last 12 years.
It's a lot of free time is taken up.
And I'm not working out because I've been too busy following Jay's raising of his daughter on Twitter for the last 12 years. That's my excuse.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of time. All right, shall we get to our bulging sack o' mail?
That's something right there.
Yes.
All right. Before we do,
We have to.
we had a couple comments quickly before that went off the rails. Corey says that you have to have faith in drafting and development. If you can't draft well-developed players or reach their potential, won't
Problem
matter.
is, we are not
100%
conditioned
true.
to have faith in
Well,
drafting and
absolutely.
developing.
Yes.
And Erica says, I have learned not to assume anything when it comes to the off season. Whatever happens, happens. That's a very good attitude to have, especially since we have no idea what Kyle Davidson's track record is, what his ideas are. So let's just sit back, hop on the ride, as we used to say, and just let it happen.
let's
You
start
got to give
saying that
Kyle Davidson the benefit of doubt here and let him do his thing.
Yeah. Why he's not done anything to lose our trust yet, except
All right.
not trading down at the deadline. What?
Eh,
All right, let's start with our Discord channel. Sung Hyun 86 asked, given the current RFA contract situations with Dominic Kubalik, Kirby Dach, and Dylan Strome, who is the most likely to re-sign with the team potentially? I think it's Dach.
Probably.
It's Dach.
Yeah, they're going to sign him. That's kind of a no-brainer.
out of those three, it's I think the easiest to select and say it's coming back is Kirby Dach.
Yeah, it certainly seems that about everything we've heard and just the way it certainly seems that Dylan Strome's not coming back, but we said that this time last season.
Right.
And then, Dominic Kubalik, is there much of a reason to bring him back at this point? Probably not.
The only reason I would say would be because his value will never be lower than it is right now.
Yeah.
You could also let him go explore and see what's out there, and then
Come on back if it's
and
not,
see like if
not
you're willing
there.
to match
Yeah.
it. Maybe he wants to change the scenery. Who knows? But look, that's a guy who, especially when you look at some of the names that might be leaving, if Strome is indeed not going to be back, and if they do move to Brinkett, he's going to be your top line winger with Patrick Kane, and you could probably see a pretty big jump in points just from being on the ice with him that long.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to watch. But I think of those three, Doc is the most likely, and our buddies at The Athletic wrote about it last week, kind of trying to figure out what his deal might look like. And they sort of concluded bridge deal, 2-year deal with about a $2.65 million cap hit, which is, I'll take that. I'll take that lottery ticket on Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if that's the gamble that he turns out to be, if he goes back in the right direction and turns out to be a little bit of what you thought he was going to be when he was picked third overall, I think that's a win. But it's weird that there could be a situation where all three of them might not be back. If the Friedman report is saying that they're open to offers on any player, Doc is in that conversation. But I think you don't cut bait on a guy who's had stunted development, has had injuries slow his progression, and is someone that you took third overall in 2019. And you mentioned Kubalik is his value is the lowest it's been. Doc is in that same position.
Yeah, as we just mentioned earlier, you got to try and get full value for these guys. Is trading Kirby Dach for a 5th round draft pick value?
No.
Because even if you bring him back at that rate that you just mentioned, he should be able to. He better perform for you better than anybody you would draft in the 5th round next season,
right? Yeah,
or 4th round, whatever it is. So I think bringing Dach back at a team friendly rate for 2 years, whatever it is, along with lower expectations for what you're going to get out of him, would be the right thing to do. You can't bring him back saying, this is still our top line center of the future, because that ship has sailed as far as I'm concerned.
Gone. Yep.
So bring him back with lower expectations and then see what happens. And then maybe, if Kyle Davidson doesn't envision him as being part of the long-term plan, hopefully he makes that turnaround and he's on a nice, friendly team deal that still has RFA rights attached to it. And all of a sudden that may become very appealing on the trade market next summer.
Let me ask you this. Do you have any sort of desire to maybe bet a little bit on Dach? Because they're not in a horrible cap situation. And if you truly believe that he is going to turn it around and become something close to what you thought you were getting third overall, maybe not a franchise center, but a really dependable second-line guy, would you go a little longer term, a little more money to protect yourself from, okay, we signed him to this 2-year bridge deal. He broke out, put up 60, 70 points, and now he's a free agent, and we're going to have to pay him $6 or $7 million. Would you go like four for 4 to try to protect yourself from a potential, maybe he turns the corner and becomes more effective, and then 2 years from now you're looking at another big-time contract you're going to have to sign? I don't know. There's nothing I saw from him last year that indicates to me that a breakout is coming soon.
Yeah, I'm not cutting bait on him. That's for sure. But I think if you're looking at the next 2-3 years of their cap situation, it's likely one or both of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane's $10.5 million are gone. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens with DeBrincat if he's extended long term or if he's not on the books. And then the salary cap goes up, so you have some flex. They're not going to be a team that's at the ceiling anymore. If they are, things are going very wrong.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking to kind of bide yourself some time before trying to, if he ends up breaking out and you have to give him a big contract, you buy yourself some time to have some previously big contracts off the books. I'm willing to go 2 to 3 years on Dach and expect that he's going to not be the player that he's shown us, and that there is more to him, that his potential, it may not be what it was when he was taken third overall, but it's still potential that's untapped of being a very serviceable top 6 center wing versatile guy. If that's what he ends up becoming, can put up 50 points, maybe surprises us, put up 60, 70. If that's his ceiling now and his potential, I'm willing to bet more that he can be that player than he's a 30-point guy who's going to be a bust.
I'm not willing to go past the 2 years, to be honest with you. He's not shown me enough to commit to where I would be worried about, oh no, I got to lock him up now. I mean, the inconsistent play has been there. He's had problems staying on the ice.
Yeah, true.
Health-wise, it seems every year something else is going wrong. He's a big guy. He takes a ton of hits. He's a target out there. I don't think he's 100% learned how to protect himself.
He's a new Marcus Kruger.
Right, except a lot larger and a bigger target. And it's Kirby, my guy. You're allowed to try to avoid contact on the ice. You don't have to absorb all those hits. Be aware of your surroundings when a large, angry man is coming at you at 60 miles an hour to maybe get out of the way. But I wouldn't go past the 2 years. I would maybe do 2 to where he still has RFA rights. And maybe if now he's going to be more expensive because that's fine. Like, I'd rather be, what do we do now with Kirby Dach that he's good, as opposed to, crap, we still got this guy for 2 more years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. There's a lot of ways that can go, and let's hope that that's a problem we're dealing with.
Yeah, I hope it's like, how do
Right.
we get Kirby Dach's brand new huge contract because he's all of a sudden really good. I hope that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
Yep.
I don't think it will be, but I hope it is.
This one comes from Tom on Twitter. He says, any chance the Hawks could acquire Anton Lundell if they took on Bobrovsky's contract from Florida wouldn't kill the Hawks cap-wise, and Bob would keep them competitive and would be a good bridge to Camesso, my favorite movie, or someone else. If not Lundell, who else would you want? So here's the issue. Lundell, he's not an issue. 6'1", 185 center. He's 20 years old. He's got 44 points in 65 NHL games.
Top 15.
He is an issue, though, because there's no way in hell the Panthers are trading him to get rid of Bob's contract.
Yeah.
If the Panthers call me up and say, we'll give you Anton Lundell if you take Bob's contract, I'm making that trade immediately.
Absolutely.
Problem is, it ain't happening.
Well, Bobrovsky makes $10 million for the next 4 years.
And I don't want the Blackhawks to be that competitive the next couple of years.
Well, that's the thing, right? Does he
He's
make
too
them
good.
too good?
Right.
It doesn't
And-
make
and-
sense.
And if you, let's say, hypothetically, things accelerate and they're back to contending in 2 years, then you have a $10 million goalie, which, yeah, if he's helping you in that way, that's great. But that still handcuffs you for finding maybe a free agent that puts you over the top, like a Marian Hossa situation where, hey, like we got some young guys in here that have really kickstarted everything. Things have fallen into place the right way. Now we need another piece. Oh, we can't because we spent $10 million on a goalie.
Right. And if Florida's giving you Lundell, they're not taking half of Bobrovsky's money either.
No, that's the sweetener. Is
You're taking
Lundell.
the whole 10.
Just because you can take on a contract like that doesn't mean you should. As much as I think Anton Lundell is a really, really good player, maybe a potential star in the making, I just don't. I don't see that even being an offer. Like,
The worst case scenario is Bobrovsky plays well, but the rest of the team doesn't, and crap, we're drafting 13th instead of third
You're
or
stuck.
second
You're
or
stuck
whatever.
in media. Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
you don't want to be that competitive the next couple of seasons.
That's the issue is when you start, picking in the middle of the draft and you don't have anyone that's going to make a difference. That's why, we look at the Seth Jones deal, and again, good player, glad he's here, yada, 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 all those qualifiers. But you're picking bad picks now, and it goes to Columbus. The 6th pick this year would have been really nice.
Yeah.
That really could have accelerated your rebuild, right?
Having Adam Boquist on this roster, having last year's 12th overall pick, which ended up being Cole Sillinger, who played all season with Columbus as a rookie, and having this year's 6th overall pick. I mean, if we're talking rebuild, I'd rather that than Seth Jones with his boat anchor contract.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. But, he who shall not be named wasn't thinking rebuild. He was thinking, I got to save my ass. I got to keep my job. We need to make the playoffs.
I still have nightmares though about what this team would have looked like had they not had Seth Jones. If Adam
Yeah,
Boquist
it would have been not as. It would not have been.
Maybe we're
great.
talking, hey, do we draft Shane Wright or
right.
Yuri Slafkovsky with that number 1 overall pick?
maybe because that D would have. I really like Adam Boquist.
Or
I do too.
Or Adam Boquist, he was going in. He at the end of last season, he started or season prior, he ended up going in the right direction. We talk about Doc, trying to turn a corner and go back in the right direction. I think we saw a good start from Boquist, and then a valley, and he was starting to go back in the other direction. And I think you cut bait on a young defenseman like that. That maybe he's not going to be Duncan Keith. Maybe that's not his ceiling. But if he's a guy that's pretty serviceable, young, and could, learn to eat, learn to be a minutes eater and learn to be able to round out his game, I think that's something you for a rebuilding team you would have done. But again, Bowman had no plans of doing that. No. As soon as it looked like, there were options to make the team immediately better, quote unquote better, he jumped after him. And it could have been, I'm trying to save my job. It could have been, I'm trying to change the news cycle around this team. Whatever it was, it didn't work out. Now Davidson has to play cleanup.
It just shows you that keeping he who shall not be named for the last 2-3 seasons just really screwed this organization into the dark ages again, and it's going to take a long time to get out of it. That blind loyalty Rocky had to a guy that, yes, was the GM on 3 Stanley Cups, and we could debate till the cows come home on how much he actually had to do with that and how much other guys had to do with it. But that was some Jerry Reinsdorf-esque loyalty beyond at a fault.
Yeah.
That, hey, I'm sticking with my guy, and we knew this investigation was coming. He should have been put on administrative leave until it came out, but you allowed a guy that knew damn well what was going to come out in that report dictate the next 10 years of your franchise, and it's still so upsetting that was even allowed to happen, that this guy that you knew was going to be gone in some way, shape, or form once all this detail came out, you let him make trades like that. Everybody in that building is at fault for that. We can yell and scream at Stan Bowman for making, sorry, he who shall not be named, for making, I'm in the jar now. I'm in the jar now. But he was allowed to do that. And ultimately that's on old Rockwell for, pulling a Reinsdorf and saying, you're my guy, do what you got to do.
Corey in the chat has a follow-up on the Bobrovsky thing. He says, I wonder if there would be a way to work a 3-team trade where a third team would receive something to retain some of Bobrovsky's salary. Those things are always a possibility, but they're almost impossible to speculate about because there's so many moving parts to those, and they occur now and again. Maybe some contender feels like they need a goalie, Toronto, and would be willing to figure something out. I don't know. Yeah. But it's just, they're so complicated. It's like, of course, yes, those things could be considered, but
those usually don't happen in the off season.
Yeah.
Big 3-team trades, retaining salary, all that those things usually seem like they're like deadline deals.
Well, you look at the Edmonton Oilers, man, bet you they wish, they're in the conference finals with Mike Smith, but bet you they wish they had a Sergei Bobrovsky or a Marc-Andre Fleury starting as opposed to, whoops, did that just go in? Yes, it did.
More on the DeBrincat thing from Bears and Hawks on Twitter. Why re-sign DeBrincat after one of his best seasons ever? A long, high AAV deal makes him harder to trade like Seth Jones and keeps his value high. I want to keep him, but it seems like a buy-high contract that the Hawks constantly do. Well,
you kind of have to, though, with him.
The idea is not to trade him later.
Yeah, it's not giving him a Seabrook deal when he's 31 and
Arrow is still pointed up on DeBrincat.
DeBrincat hasn't played his best hockey yet.
Right.
Yeah, you give a guy a big contract when he enters his prime or right before.
You're wrapping him up. You're paying him for the best years of his career.
Now is the time to give him a long-term big contract.
You should not be signing Alex DeBrincat to a long-term deal thinking, well, how am I going to trade this contract in 3 years? Then why are you signing him to a long-term deal?
If you don't see him as part of things in 3 years, then you don't sign him.
Signing him to a long-term big contract now is the putting it on the marquee that this is our guy.
Well, it's what they did with Taves, Kane, and Keith.
Yeah.
Right? They all signed long-term deals. They were all sort of not exactly parallel, but pretty much. And you knew that was your big three going forward. And maybe it will be DeBrincat, Jones, and who knows who the third is, right?
Anton Lindell. We just
Anton
breaking
Lindell.
news. Hawks to acquire Anton Lindell.
But yeah, it's interesting. Oh, we got a lot of breaking news today, don't we?
Hey,
apparently,
everything's breaking.
Everything is breaking.
Give me them clicks,
even if it's not at all what was said.
It happens.
Hey, it works.
I guess
it works
so.
for the clicks. Yeah, I feel like, if they are committing to DeBrincat, I think this is the time to give him the long-term deal. Because then you run the risk. Let's say you do 2-year bridge deal for DeBrincat to get him to see what happens. But I think if you do that, then you run the risk of he scored 45 goals last year and then he scores another 40 the next year. It's like, oh crap, now we got to pay him like $12 million,
or run the risk of him leaving for
or
nothing.
he says yes, or he says I don't want to be a part of the plan anymore, so I'm going to hit the free agent market. Then you have so many more complications. I think this. I've said it before. I think this summer is the time to figure out what to do with Taves and Kane and DeBrincat all at the same time. And I am on the boat of extend DeBrincat long term now.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know exactly what the plan is going to be from Kyle Davidson. So whatever the commenter earlier, whatever happens, and we just kind of have to, ride it out from there.
To me, there are only two scenarios with DeBrincat. Sign him long-term or trade him.
Yeah, there's no waiting.
No bridging, none of that. No,
Commit or move on.
Yes, either
and he
you
probably
make him.
wouldn't even take a bridge. They'd be like, "Why are you giving me a bridge deal? I'm a 40-goal scorer."
Yeah, I don't need a bridge. I've already proven myself. So yeah, it's either a 10-year deal or you trade him for maximum return.
Yeah, and either one of those scenarios, I'd be okay with.
One
If
thing
there's one guy you're going to commit and make the face of your franchise going forward,
It's
it's
him.
Alex DeBrincat. There's
Yeah.
no other option.
100%.
Right.
So you either do it or get off the pot.
You've either locked him in long term or you've gotten a major trade package for him. And there's, in the immediate future, no way of knowing if there's any wrong to that at all. So
sort of on the heels of this, I had a DM on Twitter from Steve, and he said, I don't have it in front of me, but it said, is it safe to assume that Tampa overpaid for Hagel?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's true, and I kind of agree,
yeah,
we're using that trade to inform our DeBrincat opinions. But if Tampa overpaid, it doesn't necessarily mean another team's going to overpay.
Right.
Like the Hagel package on its own, to me, is not enough for DeBrincat. I think we all agree on that.
No.
But we also can't calibrate everything on Tampa overpaying for Hagel, because it's not necessarily representative of what the other 31 teams or 30 teams in the league are looking at.
You go off of the value of the player to, I think, A, to the team that they were on, and then B, what they're going to be to the team that they're going to. And with Hagel, he has 2 more years left on a very team-friendly contract, and I think Tampa was maybe overpaying, quote-unquote overpaying, because they think not only was he going to make a difference in this year's postseason run, but he's also going to be a difference maker for next year and the year after, and when he's under contract with them. So and talk about a player whose arrow was pointing up. Brandon Hagel, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. Everything he did in Chicago was great. He'll have a more limited role in Tampa, but I think they were betting that his trajectory is going to be higher than what Boris Tkachuk was going to be or Taylor Radish was going to be, and he was going to be an impact player. So I think that's why that they went more with a overpayment. But I think you look at the value that Hagel had to Chicago, what he's doing and what he's going to do in Tampa, and what DeBrincat has done in Chicago, and what his trajectory shows him that he'll probably do the rest of his career. It has to be more than Hagel. I always think it starts with at least 3 first-round picks / first-round quality prospects. At least that.
There's one team that comes to mind. If there's a team that's going to overpay for DeBrincat, it's a team that so close, but they got to make a change. They got to shake things up. You can't tell me the Carolina Hurricanes wouldn't love to add Alex DeBrincat, and they've got a lot of nice assets that they can return. So there's a team that has a need for a guy like that to shake things up and make that next step, and they also have a lot of really good young talent and draft capital to return. Mm-hmm. So that could be a fit if you guys see. Plus, man, Alex DeBrincat on the Hurricanes, that wouldn't be fun.
That'd be
at
fun.
all.
Yeah,
but they got young dynamic forwards they can bring back. They got a lot of great prospects.
They have defensive depth that Chicago could
use. So those are you got to start looking if this gets serious with the DeBrincat stuff. You got to start looking at teams that make sense. Yeah, sure, every team in the league would love an Alex DeBrincat on the roster, but who can actually pull off a trade, and who does it actually make sense that they pull off a trade? There aren't that many teams out there that you would put in that conversation.
that's true. Yep.
Carolina, to me, is the team that tops that potential landing spots.
Well, I think very similar to Tampa. Like for Tampa to make that trade for Hagel, they're trying to win cups.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they're not concerned about first-round picks. They identified Hagel as a player they wanted, and they did what it took to go get him. Not every team is in that position, but Carolina is a team that is in that position, right? Like, I think Tampa's window will probably close a little faster. They've got a couple more. Stamkos is old. Hedman is getting up there. They're still really, really good, but they know the next 2 or 3 years is their next best chance to win. So
a lot,
let's do what we can to win another one now. Carolina's probably got a little more time on their window, but you're right. I think they've got a lot of really good players, but they could use just a dynamic sniper
They don't
type.
have the superstar.
They don't have an offensive superstar, Kane, DeBrincat, Panarin type of
Just
guy.
look at the 4 teams that are left.
Yes.
McKinnon, McDavid. The Rangers have
Panarin
and Zibanejad,
Yeah.
and then of course the Lightning. We know who's on the Lightning.
Right.
So Carolina doesn't have that guy. That's part of the reason why they've been watching the conference finals for the last couple of seasons instead of playing in them.
Yeah, and depth is great, but you do need, and I think the Rangers are good proof of this, is sometimes when things aren't going well, you need guys that just know how the hell to score goals.
Yeah.
And they've got Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin who can just any second is a threat to score a goal. And I love what Carolina has established down there, but they're kind of samey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of Tavo types. Mm-hmm. And Tavo, I love Tavo. Tavo's great, but he's not a guy who on a dime can change a game.
They've got a lot of guys that can set up goal scorers but don't have the goal scorer.
There you
Hey,
Yeah.
look at that.
Hey.
There you go.
There's your trade.
Again, though, we're not trying to rush to Brinkett out of town by any means.
But if you just can't say the Hawks are going to trade Alex DeBrincat, you got to start thinking of, well, to who and for what. And Carolina is that team that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it
a lot
does.
of the other these teams, you talk about, oh yeah, Toronto. Who are they going to give you and how are they going to pay them?
Austin Matthews, obviously.
Okay, done.
I think that's
Breaking
fair.
news. We just traded.
Fair trade.
We just traded DeBrincat for Matthews. Straight up.
Straight up.
Breaking news.
Put it out
Verified.
there. Give me a tweet.
All right, this one is from Joe. He says, unless it's been discussed already, looking back at the 2019 draft, everybody knew the draft started at number 3 with the Blackhawks. A lot of debate over Doc, Bowen Byram, and Alex Turcotte, if I remember correctly. Now, 3 years later, what should they have done? Stayed with Doc, drafted someone else, or traded back to acquire more picks? I said as soon as they landed the number 3 overall pick that they should draft Bowen Byram.
As did I.
I stand by that assessment.
As do I.
And yes, I know they had a lot of defensive prospects in the system, including Adam Boquist at the time. 2019, had they traded Jokiharju yet?
Not yet.
They had 2019 draft. Yeah, because he was traded
At the draft?
before the draft. At the draft.
Stand by. You guys talk. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Well, either way,
Well, figure out the
despite
timeline.
the glut of defensive
It would've been
prospects
after the
they
draft.
had, defensive prospects are tougher to
But
develop.
Bowen Byram, even then, was not Adam Boquist or Henry
Right.
Jokiharju. You could see it. He
But you
was
know what would have
dynamic.
happened, though? He would have started his career in the NHL. He would have floundered. He's not ready. And Sam Bowman would have traded him.
Yeah. Jar.
Another
Damn
one
it.
in the jar.
I'm running out of money.
Man, this anti-nepotism site of
Yeah,
America is going to
this-
be loaded by the end of this
Who
show.
gets the winnings? Like at the end of let's say the end of next year, all the money that's in the
We're starting a nonprofit.
There you go. I like
The
that idea.
anti-nepotism
Yes.
nonprofit of CHGO, whatever. We'll get it put together.
The other guy I liked was Turcotte.
I was on
wanted.
the Turcotte bandwagon for sure. That 2019 draft, going back to the question, what would you do with Doc now or at that time? The 2019 draft was wide open after the first 2 picks. Jack Hughes and Capo Caco were the 1-2. That was set in stone. The 3rd pick opened everything up, and the Blackhawks went with Kirby Dach, who, when I was going through who of these players that at number basically 3 through 10 was roll the dice and it's going to be one of those guys. Doc wasn't somebody that I was really looking at.
No, he wasn't a guy I was wanted either.
And so when it came down to Doc, I was like, okay, they must really believe that he's going to be something more than some of these players. I think to that point, it really wasn't necessarily take the best player available, because if that was going to be the strategy, it would have been Bowen Byram. But they had a bunch of defensive prospects already. So I think that they were going for who is the best forward that's going to be on the board. For them, it was Kirby Dach. I think if Doc doesn't pan out, that 2019 draft is going to be just a dark cloud for this franchise for a long
Especially
time.
when you look at some of the guys that were taken later.
Oh, my God,
Mo Sider was taken 6th overall, and that was ripped. That pick was ripped apart.
Byram, Sider, Dylan Cozens, Philip Broberg, Trevor Zegras, Vasily Podkozin, Victor
Matt Boldy.
Soderstrom, Boldy, Matthew Boldy, Spencer Knight, Cam York, Cole Caulfield, Alex Newhook, Peyton Krebs. That's the top 17.
There's
those are
a lot of swings
legit
and misses
guys
there.
that are going to be.
I mean,
very
even
good
later in the
players.
first round, you get guys like Philip Tomasino, who's been really good for the Preds, and
Like him on WGN.
and Ryan Suzuki. He's one of those guys that, there's a lot of good young talent, and Yeah, they missed the boat.
So
right
that
there.
so yeah, I think in 2019 you were taking that pick third overall because of the talent that was available. There was no trade. There was no ideas of trading back to get more picks. I don't think that was really when you are gifted the third overall pick, because they were going in with, I think, the 10th best odds to win the lottery. When you're basically gifted the third overall pick, you have to hit on it. And it just Doc's not
revisionist history.
Doc's not going to hit on it.
Would they have been better off getting like the 9th or 10th pick when you read those names?
I think so. Yeah, because then it whittles down that there's so many guys to pick from.
Guess what? They probably still would have had Kirby Doc at 9 or 10.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, hey, I'm looking at the stats here of these guys who have played so far. Only Jack Hughes and Trevor Zegras have more points than Kirby Doc. Doc in 152 games
I was gonna say, yeah.
has 59 points. Capo Caco, the unquestioned number 2 pick in that draft, 58 points in 157 games. So I don't know. Maybe we're too close to it. Maybe Kirby Doc is on a proper development path. I don't know. I just thought by now we'd see a whole hell of a lot more from him and more consistently. Mm-hmm. We all, after that Edmonton series in the bubble, were like, here we go, right? He was one of the best players on the ice for either team in that series, and it was like, there it is. That's what they saw. That's the guy they drafted, and then another injury.
Unfortunately, they left that guy in Edmonton.
Yeah,
they forgot to take him home with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was expecting him to go into that World Juniors and just like look like a man amongst boys as the captain of Team Canada.
And he might have,
and then broken wrist.
That was a good sound effect.
Yeah.
That's an ASMR.
I've broken a bone or two in my
wrist
in my
hurt.
day.
ASMR.
Nice.
I'm just full of it today.
Yeah,
I am the
something,
living
that's
end.
for sure.
This is what the people pay for at CHGO, right?
This is why we have as many people in our chat right now as we do. And thank
That's
you
right.
all for doing
And
that.
someone was looking for my things you can't say on the radio segment.
Yes.
Don't think too hard. There's a lot of stuff you can't say on the radio.
Lots of things.
What was the one that came up last? Oh, you can talk about the result of going to the bathroom, but you
Right.
can't describe the act of going to the bathroom.
You can say there's a log in the bowl, but you can't,
Can't-
tell you how the
can't
log
say how
got
it got
in the
there.
bowl. Right. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
These are the things you miss if you don't listen every day. Even our audio only podcast. You got to subscribe on all your podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, we're everywhere. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Miss a little, miss a lot.
right,
I know that was a bit somebody else did.
I
but,
can
you
do.
know.
I can do one. You can say damn, but you can't say goddamn.
Oh yeah.
You can say ass, but you can't say asshole. Mm-hmm. And then the other ones, just look up George Carlin, seven things
there
you can't say on
What
television.
can you do it the Matt Hardy way? Can you call somebody the hole of the ass?
I don't know.
Because you could say hole and you can
good-
say ass, but you can't say them in that order. So
You're
just call
right. It's a
someone-
good loophole.
You are a hole of the ass.
I think that could work. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't hold. I don't know. I'm not.
All right, we
ready
got to get a
anymore.
job in radio. Say it, see if we get fired.
You know what? I'm good. That's your department. I'm very happy where I am right now and hope I'm here for the rest of my life. Got one here from Brad from Twitter. Do you expect any major trades involving the Hawks at the draft? If I'm guessing, I think something
Yes.
big will happen at the draft. Yes.
I think they get into the first round. I think Davidson was interested in it but not committal. I think that was the most of his poker hand that he has shown, and I would like to think that they get into the first round, even though they have 5 picks between the second and third rounds. I think you got to get in the first round. Whether you feel like we can draft a couple good depth prospects and hopefully they trust their scouting department to hit on some of those guys. I think if you got to get into the first round and get to that first round talent that is Davidson said that's where the talent is for a reason. Whether it's a deep draft this year or next year or not, or whatever it is, I think you got to get into the first round and get someone that is on the trajectory of this person will make a difference.
My only thing about that is don't trade to get in the first round just to get in the first round.
Right.
Trade to get in the first round because you've got a guy that you know is your guy
And will be
you
there.
need him to
Yeah.
be. You want him to be part of this rebuild. Don't just do it to say, "Hey, look what I did." Do it because this is a guy I targeted. My scouts are high on him. I want him to be one of our new faces of the franchise, so that's why I did it. Don't do it just.
Don't
to
just
do it.
randomly get the 20th pick so you can get Jimmy Snuggerud because you once had his brother. Like
Right.
don't like that. There's no necessary.
Michael Yambas
not
killed him
necessary
in
for
the
that.
AHL.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the mailbag. Do you want to tell us about how to get a good start in your day there, Greg?
Yeah, okay, I guess so.
All right, do it.
Yeah, well, and that
I guess.
Yeah, all right, fine. And if you do want to start your day with a competitive edge, you should do so by brewing yourself either an entire pot of Strava craft coffee, or you can get it in your little single cup doses as well. So me, I'm a pot of coffee guy. I don't like just one cup. I brew the entire pot of Strava CBD coffee because it's a game changer, and it's helped thousands of people improve their overall wellness and quality of life. Many of us right here in the CHGO offices are included in those thousands. Strava delivers delicious, fresh roasted specialty coffee infused with organic broad spectrum CBD. CBD from hemp doesn't make you high or hungry, and it does offer you real benefits such as feeling alert and focused without the jitters, living your day more balanced with less anxiety and fewer aches and pains. Plus, including CBD in your daily routine can even help you enjoy a more restful night of sleep so you wake up feeling even better. Then you drink the Strava, and it's like doubling down on feeling better. And the best part, Strava is all about quality. Everything is small batch, it's fresh, it's shipped right to your home. It's delicious coffee with all the benefits from the CBD that we've talked about. Plus, CHGO listeners can save 25% off their entire purchase when you use the code CHGO25 at checkout. That's a quarter off the entire order just by using that CHGO25 promo code at checkout. That's at StravaCraftCoffee.com, STRAVA. And if you're already a big fan of Strava, you can join the Strava Coffee Club and save big money. That's where you get to tell them what coffees you want, when you want them, and where to ship it to, and they take it from there while you're saving money. It doesn't get any easier than that. Check out our friends over at StravaCraftCoffee.com.
All right,
Way,
we've got
Jimmy
ahead.
Snuggerud and Luke Snuggerud, cousins, not brothers.
Well, then
make sure I
draft
got
them
that
after
right.
all.
Yeah, well, screw them. We don't need cousins.
That's enough Snuggeroods for me.
We only get brothers in this town.
All right, tonight we've got Game 4, Colorado at Edmonton, 7 p.m. on TNT. That's 3-0 Avalanche. You know the Avalanche only have 2 losses in the playoffs. It's pretty amazing. 11-2 in the playoffs.
2?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Swept
yeah.
Nashville. They lost 2
that's
to.
right.
Yep.
And those
How
two
about
losses.
that?
And those 2 losses came to the hands of Jordan Binnington.
Yep. That's a
Hey,
shame.
I
I
mean-
hate to see it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it'll
but
be
y-
interesting to see. Was there? I didn't check news. Was there an Evander Kane ruling yet?
He will miss tonight's game, so he has been suspended for the season.
Hopefully, that'll teach him. Piss
That'll
on that
learn
guy.
him.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, I think they finish it tonight.
Yeah, it's
They better. I hope so. End
yeah.
it. End
Yeah.
it. Put them out of their misery. Enjoy a few days off. Get some guys healthy, and then watch the Rangers and Lightning beat the crap out of each other for 7 games, and then pick up the scraps and win your Stanley Cup.
The Avs are so fun to watch.
They are so.
They
good.
are.
It's just unbelievable. They're so
I can't
freaking
see
good.
anybody beating them 4 games in a 7-game stretch. It doesn't matter.
Even
if it's-
Tampa at this point, I'm like, I don't know if they could.
I don't think so. They're
Yeah.
having problems with the Rangers right
Yeah.
now, and the Rangers don't have the speed.
No.
Nobody has that speed. That's why they've only lost twice in the playoffs so far.
Well, we should give some kudos to the Rangers for look. They were up 2-0 in the series. They got out to a 2-0 lead yesterday, only to have it all fall apart in the third period.
Stop taking penalties.
Yeah.
Both of those teams.
Yeah, 4 power play goals. Of the 5 goals scored in yesterday's game, 3-2 win for Tampa. 4 of them were on the power play. 52 shots on goal for Tampa to 30 for the Rangers. You're just seeing and we talked about it last week. I said, if the Rangers got out to a 2-0 lead, would you feel any less confident that the Lightning are going to win the series? I think we all answered no, and I stand by that. I still think Tampa's going to win.
That goal, that was a backbreaker. And can we just talk about the freaking pass Nikita Kucherov made on that?
Oh, my
Holy
God.
cow. That might be the best assist of the playoffs so far.
He's so good.
Just right on the tape, just backhanded, not even look amazing.
Yeah, he's good
Amazing.
for a handful of those a series, too.
He's a special talent.
But you mentioned the backbreaker, right? So I remember Dale Talon always used to say the worst thing you can do is give up a goal in like the first 2 minutes or the last 2 minutes.
Joe Quenneville
They
said
did
that a lot.
They
too.
did both. Yeah. Stamkos scored a minute 22 into the third. That ties the game. That's a soul crusher. And then they give up a goal with 48 seconds left or something like that.
It was not a lot of time.
42
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't make me math. I can't math time. Anytime I look at the scoreboard, I'm like,
where it's backwards. Yeah.
I can do it.
Scored
in
18 minutes in. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it says like 18 minutes. I'm like, 18 minutes left or 18 minutes elapsed? I'm like,
it was scored 18 minutes in, so then you got to do reverse math, and it's confusing.
Yeah.
So not a lot of time left. We'll just say that.
It was in the final minute of the period.
It was tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a tough
goal
way
to
to go down for the Rangers. But hey,
We'll see how they respond. They've had their backs to the wall a bunch this series.
Yeah.
They've faced elimination 5 times already in these playoffs, and they're undefeated in games where they're facing elimination. So if there's one
good.
team that can bounce back and say that's not going to bother us, it's this Rangers team. They've got resiliency coming out of the wazoo in these postseasons. I said wazoo.
you can say wazoo on the radio.
I know.
But not wazoo hole.
Whole of the wazoo.
I can say wazoo, but I can't say what comes out of the
Right,
wazoo.
exactly. Look, I'm rooting for the Rangers. I would love to see it. I think it's a cool story. I know, Greg, you cannot root for anything from New York,
I hope they lose the next 3 games 9-0. Sorry.
I mean,
It's
it's
say the
cool.
same for the Islanders, the Yankees, the Mets. Screw New York.
There you go. Well, and it's kind of like the March Madness thing. It's like every year there's some team that just goes on a run. You're like, yeah, there you go, 10th seed. Like keep it going. Like the Rangers were not supposed to be here.
No.
And for them to have the Lightning on their heels, it's kind of cool.
It's an impressive run. If they played in any other city in the world, I'd be all over them because they're a likable team.
Right,
They
yeah.
got some great players. Mika Zibanejad is a beast. I would love him in a Blackhawks uniform. But I just sorry, can't do it. If they were the
Can't do it.
If they were the Kansas City Rangers, I'd be sporting one of their hats right now. But they're not. They're from
you
New
go.
York, so I hope you lose every game you play in from
All
here
right.
to eternity.
I don't have the hatred for New York you do. I went once. I'm like, yep, it's very busy, and there's a lot of tall buildings. And
Sounds familiar.
yeah.
But that doesn't make them any better than anybody else. We got that here.
I just think for New Yorkers to have a complex where they have to constantly remind you they're from New York, it's weird. It doesn't track. It's like you're the, everyone believes that New York is like the number one spot in the world for culture, right? Or at least in the United States.
Because
And then why do you have
they have to remind us of that.
right? So
every
why do you have that
breath they
complex?
take. Right.
You shouldn't have the complex.
That's
if
why I
that's
hope
the,
they never have any sports success to knock them down a
All
peg or
right,
two.
fair enough.
There you go.
Same thing with Boston. Piss
Anyway,
on them
go
too.
Rangers. I want the Rangers to beat the
Go
Lightning.
Lightning.
All right.
Well,
Give me some
Avs-
Brandon Hagel goals.
Avs and Oilers tonight, 7:00.
Handshakes around 10:06 p.m.
I
Is that
hope
the
so.
prediction?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think the Avs will score early and score often and put the Oilers out of their misery.
Yeah.
Also,
All right.
also happening at 7:00 tonight.
yeah.
I want to just do a little shout out here.
Oh.
Pull up the info. 1 second. I know this is great.
No, it's good stuff.
Also happening at 8:00 actually, 8:00 Central, is the opening game of the U18 Women's World Championships in Madison, Wisconsin. USA taking on Sweden tonight. Those games can be found on NHL Network and I believe ESPN Plus as well. So shout out to the U18 Women Worlds.
I will be checking
starting
that
tonight.
game out when the Avs are up 5-0 in the second period, and it's not worth watching. I will definitely flip over.
Sounds
to
good.
That.
By the way, let me shout out ESPN Plus as a concept here. You're able to find whatever sport you want pretty much all the time for $5 a month. My family has been consumed with the College Softball World Series because we are bandwagon Northwestern fans. And they said that this College Softball World Series is the most attended of all time.
Wow.
There's a correlation there that people can find the sport easily and watch it. At any weekend, there's 10 to 15 college softball games on for my daughter and her friends and me as a coach to watch. And whatever your sport is, lacrosse, soccer, tennis, whatever, it's there and it's accessible. It is a great thing. And I know people roll their eyes at ESPN and all that stuff, and there's good reasons for it. But ESPN Plus is a great value, and it's awesome, and it is doing so much for fringe sports that need coverage. Almost every college softball game is on every weekend, and we are front and center watching it. So if you don't have it, check it out. You get almost every NHL out of market game too.
And
yeah.
there's a ton of college hockey on during
Yeah,
the season,
college
too.
hockey, world hockey.
Yeah, they
There's-
do a great job of if you're not into just, hey, I just going to watch whatever the game of the week baseball game is, and you got to It's great. It's so affordable. The people are like, oh, this is an ESPN only game. The Blackhawks. That's the only way you can watch it. Yeah, I don't want to pay whatever.
Just do your 7-day trial, and I think after 7 days you'll
bundle it with Disney Plus. Watch Obi-Wan, and you're good.
Yeah,
you can watch Shoresy and Letterkenny on Hulu too. This is not an ad, by the way.
No,
this is just I have it through Hulu. It's and whenever I pull up the Hulu like sports menu, I always see all these just random things I would have never had access to, and they're all on ESPN Plus. So yeah, I mean, if they're really, the model of like sweeping up the like fringe stuff, it's working.
It's great,
and it's great too for a tournament like this, to have that exposure, because I may be mistaken, but I think this was the tournament either 2 years ago or a year before, whatever. The broadcast was like a Ring doorbell.
Yeah, it was. It was like the what do they call that? The bird eye?
Fisheye.
Fisheye, yeah. And it was like
it was a static camera. It was like a fisheye. It was terrible. And it was an
insult. It was a slap in the face.
It was awful. So hats off to NHL Network for getting that, on their network. ESPN Plus, I know in Canada it's all covered on TSN. So yeah, that gets going tonight. So if you got a multi TV setup, put Oilers and Avs on one, with the women's worlds on the other.
Got an iPad and a TV. You're good to go.
There you go. Should be fun. All right, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with Top Shelf Tuesday. Topic to be determined. We're going to have our post-show powwow here and figure out what it's going to be, but it should be a lot of fun. It is every week. So join us 11 a.m. live tomorrow, and make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page. Turn those notifications on. CHGO Sports is the page, and follow the podcast and all the CHGO Sports podcasts on your podcast app. Follow this one. Follow CHGO Bears, Cubs, Sox, Bulls, Sky, Red Stars, Fire. I think I got everybody. Follow all of them. Turn those notifications on, so as soon as a new audio podcast drops, you've got it. You're ready to listen, and we greatly appreciate it. Reminder, we are presented, as always, by PointsBet. Use that promo code CHGO when you sign up, and you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000 for Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. I'm Jay Zawaski. Thanks so much for listening to the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.